Back in June, I showed you folks the Razer Blade Stealth, all refreshed for 2017. Today, I'm going to tell you if it's worth the wait. Stay tuned. So quick story behind the Razer Blade Stealth. This device was the first Razer product I ever heard of, but I never bought one myself. In fact, every time I went to the Microsoft Store to go check it out, I always kind of cringed at the display and the bezels. It just never spoke to me. That's why I was super excited back in June when Razer contacted me and told me what's new with this device. I think it's finally here. It's not perfect, but this is the Razer Blade Stealth I can actually get behind. So the biggest change here for 2017 is the display. To me, it actually just looks normal now, but that is a 50% bezel reduction. And how Razer achieved that is pretty simple. This device still does have a 12.5-inch 4K version, which is still available if you want that. I actually do not recommend it. This version, though, is 13.3 inches, so of course all they did was put a bigger display panel in there, which then made those bezels a little bit smaller, actually 50% smaller. And to me, like I said, it just looks like a normal laptop now. These aren't thin bezels at all by 2017 standards, but they look really nice. Now, this is also a QHD display, so it's 3200 by 1800 resolution. Now look at the color calibration, it's very good. This is 98% sRGB or 77% Adobe. Now the display is not the brightest in the world. They're talking about a little bit over 300 nits. It's fine for gaming indoors. Not something you really want to use outdoors, but then again, not something you really be crazy about anyway. It is a glossy display, but on the scale of 1 to 10 of glossiness, I would say it's about an 8. It's not the most glossy display. And I do find this overall just better than the original Razer Blade Stealth. It's also, of course, a touchscreen. So not something you're going to use all the time. You can't use a pen with it, but if you like having touch and that ability to do it, it's actually a very nice touch display. Coming down to the main body itself, of course, this is the black version. So if you've seen Razer Blade Stealths before, this is nothing new. There is also a gunmetal gray version, which is really nice. So I will talk about that in a few seconds, but first let's talk about the normal features here. You're talking about a regular size keyboard, which is really nice. It is only 1 millimeter of travel, which is on the shallow side. If you don't know about keyboard buttons, 1.2 to 1.5 millimeters is usually what you're aiming for a laptop. 1 millimeter is on the shallow side. Having said that, the actuation on here and the feel of the keys, the response is very good. And so I'm kind of torn on this keyboard. It's one of those, it's very shallow, so as you're typing, your fingers are going to bounce back quickly. But overall, it's a really nice experience. Of course, you have really nice backlighting here. You get that chroma backlighting with a whole range of brightness displays, so you can configure that however you want, including on power or AC. When it comes to the gunmetal gray version, you don't get the chroma option, so it's just going to be backlit with white keys. So that's one of the main differences there. The gunmetal gray version, it can be thought of as for professionals or people who don't want a flamboyant laptop. It's gunmetal gray. The logo on the back is not green for the snakes, it's just black, and you do get just regular keyboard lighting, so pretty nice. Coming down to the trackpad, I'm very excited about this. Finally, Razer is getting on board. They did this with the Razer Blade Pro, now the Razer Blade Stealth. We are talking a precision touchpad. It's a very good touchpad. It's very smooth. I love the feel of it. The click is pretty good too. It takes a little bit of effort, but of course you can do taps. You do have right and left click. Not dedicated buttons, but they are zones. Works very well. The precision drivers are excellent on this. I'm so happy to see Razer getting on board with that. And you can pretty much bet, I'm going to assume, the new Razer Blade, whenever that comes out, will also have precision touch drivers. So kudos to Razer for getting on board with that. For audio, you also have top firing speakers. So this, of course, looks very much like a Mac. It's been considered a black Mac by many people. I love this design. These speakers are very good. I'm very happy with them. Not tinny at all. You get some pretty good bass there. I just love top firing speakers. Of course, if you're going to use this for gaming, you'll probably end up using dedicated headphones anyway, but still very good speakers. As I mentioned earlier, here's the Razer logo. It does, of course, glow. You can toggle that in settings, which is always a nice feature. If you get the gunmetal gray version, it will be blended in and a lot more conservative looking. The device is still a fingerprint magnet, so you will probably have to wipe this down a few times. You may want to put a sticker on there as well if you want to protect it. That is silver underneath if you do scratch it, but overall, pretty solid design. Turn to the side here, you do get HDMI 2.0 and a USB 3.1 port. Turn around to the other side, of course, you have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, another USB-A port, and there is a USB Type-C full Thunderbolt 3 specifications with the 4 PCI lane dedication. That is going to be for an eGPU, the Razer Core, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Really nice port selection here. I love Razer's ports. I think they do the best balance between everything. Looking at the bottom here, you have, of course, two vents for the fans. One's intake, one's exhaust. That is to help cool the Intel Core i7-7500U processor. So that is, of course, the latest Kaby Lake version, 7th generation. You also get now 16 gigabytes of RAM versus the previous 8 gigabytes. So that should make a lot of people happy. For an SSD, you do get a PM961 by Samsung. That is also known as a 960 EVO. Very performant drive. You're talking about 1400 megabits per second for read and write speeds. This version right here is the 1 terabyte version, but you can also get it in a 512 or 256. Let's talk a little bit about gaming. So the Razer Blade Stealth is actually not really a gaming laptop, although it looks like one. So it looks a lot like the Razer Blade, but you are talking only a dual core processor and no dedicated GPU. For gaming though, you can of course use the Razer Core, an external GPU solution. Razer will gladly sell you this unit for $399. And then you of course still need to supply your own video card. And this one, I happen to have a GTX 1080 Ti, which is pretty awesome. But that's about an extra $1,000. Still, it gives you a full desktop experience, and it's all done through the magic of USB Type-C and Thunderbolt 3, which is super impressive. So you just plug it into the side of the Razer Blade Stealth, and now you're going to have a full desktop experience. You plug it in and the Razer Core just kicks in and then will handle all the display output for you. It also charges the Blade Stealth, which is awesome. And it can even handle Ethernet and a few more external displays and a USB port. So you get a lot of power through this one unit and this one cable. And I tell you, it's super neat and convenient. So you may be wondering, what can a dual-core Ultrabook actually do with a 1080 Ti? Well, it's pretty impressive. Playing Gears of War 4 at 2560 by 1440 resolution on full Ultra, I was able to hit 62 frames per second. That's pretty impressive. Forza Horizons 3 also look great, as well as Call of Duty. So this is a very expensive solution, but it is super convenient. I can't stress that enough. You can have a very clean desktop setup. If you're the kind of person who wants to game at home but have a professional laptop at work, well, this may be your best choice. All right, let's bring it all in. I really like the Razer Blade Stealth. I think they did a fantastic job here answering a lot of my concerns for the previous version. That new display at 13.3 inches is the sweet spot. I also like that gunmetal gray option in case you want a more conservative laptop. You also get a really good keyboard and a precision touchpad, 16 gigs of RAM, and between 256 and 1 terabyte of performant SSD storage. So far, so good. Battery life is all right. It's between 6 and 7 hours. That's not the best in the world, but it is pretty solid. Don't forget, you do get USB Type-C charging there, which is really nice. It's a tiny charger. And at 2.9 pounds and 1.3 kilograms, this isn't a heavy laptop. I also really just enjoy the build quality. Now, don't forget, this is not a tablet, so you can't rotate it around. You can't use a pen with it. It is a traditional laptop. Some people are fine with that. I'm actually one of those people, but don't forget, there are other choices out there, including the HP Spectre X360. But if you're going to get an eGPU and you just really like Razer's aesthetic, I happen to like the Blade Stealth a lot and give it a recommendation. So there's my video review of the Razer Blade Stealth, which is now available. If you want more information about this device, make sure you head to Windows Central for my full review. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.